Hello, welcome to our second talk in our research series, International Researchers. I'm very happy today to have Agata with me, Professor Agata Gąsiorowska. I know, sorry, Agata, I really have problems pronouncing your name. I hope you're not too cross with me. I'm very happy to have Agata here because I know her for quite a while now from IAREP, the International Association on Research in Economic Psychology. And Agata is full professor in economic psychology or psychology, probably you would say. She is vice director of the Institute of Psychology in the Center for Research in Economic Behavior, and she's also the Dean's representative for research and development at the Faculty of Psychology. And you now might like to ask where? In Wrocław at the SWPS University. So she is from Poland and also from Wrocław. I'm very happy that she's here because for me, she is the prototype of an economic psychologist because she knows not only about psychology, she has also a degree in, I think it's management, right? And so combining these two, she has done a lot of research on money, how money is perceived. And just when I started talking to her today, I was saying again the wrong thing because I know her from researching money from a child perspective. But again, Agata was telling me off in a very nice way that this was just the kind of research she did in the beginning, not because she's so much into a child's thinking, but she needed a sample of people who don't know numbers. So she is in money research for many, many years. And now that's the reason why she's going to present us something about money. And as maybe all of you have already seen, it has to do something with being or showing gratitude or giving gratitude and how you want to have money afterwards. Agata, I hope this wasn't wrong. And if it was, you now tell me what you're going to talk about. Please start.
Okay, thank you, Eva, for the great introduction. I will share my screen. Just want to ask you if you have any clarification questions. If there is some details that you don't understand during my presentation, just type them on the chat and I will try to address them. But if you have any bigger questions, then I will try to address them after my presentation. Exactly as Eva said, for many years, I investigated the money attitudes, and also I was interested in the consequences of money and the consequences of money in terms of being self-reliant, self-focused, and not very pro-social. And what I've learned over all these years is that, generally speaking, in one sentence, the pursuit of money is something that definitely makes us miserable. But at the same time, we know from observation of the reality around us, and we know that from the research, that even though we can tell people that the pursuit of money or pursuit of possession is not good for their psychological well-being, people still do that. So then, at some points, I asked myself a question whether we as psychologists can do something to stop this vicious circle of trying to get more money for the sake of getting more money, for the sake of getting more things, for the sake of getting more money. And even though we see that we cannot increase our happiness in this crazy train, still we cannot jump off this train. So my idea was that maybe we can think of simple human values or simple interventions that could potentially maybe not hamper, but decrease the desire for money and just break this vicious circle of materialism and lack of well-being. So the first part of this project is a series of studies that I conducted together with my friend Rimpul Manchanda from India and my friend Maciek Kościelniak, who is from the same university as me. And it was a great, it was a great experience. And the findings that we obtained are really, I mean, at least in my opinion, they are really interesting. Unfortunately, they had been rejected in a good journal, but this doesn't mean that I will not submit it somewhere else. So, but the reviews were very nice. Yes, it's not like they said that they don't see any hope for that paper. Okay, so the first thing, so the first question we might ask is, what is gratitude? Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. Gratitude is rather the feeling you have after you are thankful to somebody or to some abstract power, because it doesn't have to be a specific person. And for many, many years, for more than 2000 years, gratitude was understood as something very important in human lives. Here you have a quotation from Cicero saying that gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. And what I really like is what Adam Smith wrote about gratitude. The funny thing is that we usually associate Adam Smith with the wealth of nations and this approach that people should maximize their benefits because this is how the market should work. But a few years before publishing The Wealth of Nations, he published a theory of moral emotions. And in this book, he says that gratitude is an essential social emotion and is one of the primary motivators of benevolent behavior toward a benefactor. And he claims in this book that although the society built on benefit maximization would work, the society built on gratitude would work even better. And even if we don't, most of the economists especially don't even know about this book. And I would say that this was the first book and the first work on economic psychology. So how psychological processes like moral emotions impact our economic behavior. When we look into psychological literature, the most common theory about gratitude is the one proposed by Emmons and Shelton, who define gratitude as an empathetic or moral emotion or virtue. And they claim that this is a felt sense of wonder, thankfulness, and appreciation for life. So undoubtedly, this is something more than just saying thank you to another person. Of course, as I said, it can be expressed towards others, towards specific human beings, but we can be grateful towards impersonal power, like grateful for nature, or non-human sources like gods or animals, or even things that we cannot name. Empirically, in the research, gratitude is a pleasant state and is linked with other positive emotions like contentment, happiness, pride, hope, etc., etc. When we look into research on gratitude, we can find that gratitude has very positive impact on our well-being because it serves to sustain sense of personal goodness. It cultivates interconnectedness. It cultivates personal growth. So people who are high in gratitude, or people who exercise gratitude, because we can exercise gratitude, experience lower anxiety, lower depression, higher psychological well-being, higher happiness, and also people who are high in gratitude experience or show lower materialism. On the other hand, ingratitude is the attitude or behavior characteristic of people high in narcissism. And narcissistic people are usually seen as incapable of experiencing and expressing sincere gratitude because they adhere mostly to their own self-sufficiency. And then if we step one step back, if we remember the studies on money priming was related to the feeling of self-sufficiency, because if we have money, we can autonomously make decisions. We don't have to rely on others. So maybe this, incapability of experiencing and expressing sincere gratitude would also be related to money. Of course, there is at least one paper demonstrating that people high in socioeconomic status, especially people with high wealth, are more narcissistic than people without wealth. So there is another connection, indirect connection, between low gratitude, high narcissism, and high wealth. So these were the basis of our project, and the general aim of our project was to test whether gratitude is inversely, so negatively related to the desire of money. If this is true, that people high in gratitude have low desire for money, and also if this is true, that if we intervene, if we ask people to exercise gratitude, that could decrease their desire for money. But investigating just one effect would not provide us enough in psychological insight. So we also asked questions why gratitude may decrease the desire for money. So we in our model, we postulated two hypotheses. First, gratitude is positively related to self-transcendence. Self-transcendence understood as the feeling of being a part of a bigger abstract entity. And another emotion that is also related to the feeling of self-transcendence is awe. I don't know if there is a word in German for awe. We don't have a word in Polish for that, but this is exactly the feeling that you experience when you go to the mountains, when you climb the highest mountain, you see the world until the horizon, you open your mouth and you cannot say a word because you are thrilled and killed by the beauty of the surrounding. So this is this feeling you feel during that time as a part of the nature, as a tiny human being, but not tiny in the sense of worthless, but tiny in the sense of being a part of of universe. This kind of self-transcendence I mean here. Also, we know that there are some studies connecting nostalgia with the desire for money and demonstrating that nostalgia, so the mix of positive feelings and sadness because of things that were in the past and are not in the present. Nostalgia is the emotion that is related to the feeling of interconnectedness with other people. And we also know that gratitude, as we are grateful to other people, might be also related to heightened the feeling of social connectedness. So this was the second psychological mechanism that we wanted to investigate, whether this negative relationship between gratitude and desire for money can be explained by the fact that people who are grateful feel more socially connected. And if we are socially connected, if we are embedded in close relationships, we can fulfill our needs, both practical and psychological, in many different ways. So we don't need more money. We don't need to be autonomous, and we don't need to rely on money. What is important, gratitude in psychological research is understood in two ways. First, we can talk about the trait gratitude or grateful disposition. So this is a trait that is an individual difference. And it means that some people experience and express gratitude more often, and other people express and experience gratitude less often. I don't want to go into details why is it so, but we know that this is a relatively stable trait. And in questionnaires, this is measured with items like I feel thankful for what I have received in life, or I'm very grateful to a wide variety of people. It doesn't mean that I'm grateful to a specific person in a specific situation, but that I have this overarching feeling of thankfulness. But also, gratitude is understood as a state. So it means that especially people who initially have low level of daily gratitude can exercise gratitude, or psychologists can ask them to take part in interventions. And the typical interventions are, for example, gratitude diary. So every day we have to list in our diary 5 things that we are grateful for this specific day, or writing a gratitude letter, even sending it to a specific person, but just writing it is actually enough. So just expressing gratitude. And these kind of interventions or manipulations are not only used in psychological research, but they are also part of psychological treatment. They are parts of some psychological therapies. So what we wanted to employ is both. We wanted to look at gratitude from both these sides. We wanted to include gratitude as a trait that we measure, but we also wanted to see whether exercising gratitude would have an impact on the desire of money. Our first and very initial study was conducted in Poland and in India. Okay, I will mention that before all studies. All studies we've conducted in this project were pre-registered, so we have run them after we wrote down our hypothesis, our sample sizes, exclusions, data analysis plan, etc., etc. And in psychology, especially in social psychology now, this is like the golden standard, that you don't just do your research. You first need to sit and think. And thinking and planning your research is even more important than just running it. And I really advise you to pre-register, even if you don't, even if you don't submit the pre-registration. So just writing down all the elements of the study before the study is conducted. Okay, it takes time. It's not effortless. It takes time, but I can tell you that since I started pre-registering all my studies, more of them actually work in line with my hypothesis, because I realized that if I pre-register my studies and I spend more time on planning them, so they are just better. I do less mistakes. Okay, so in the first study, we invited students from Poland and students from India. The samples were pretty homogeneous, so we didn't have real adults, just students, because we just wanted to see whether we would find the results at all. We used a very typical and probably the most common scale to measure gratitude is gratitude questionnaire, very short version. And to measure the desire for money, we used my scale that measures money attitude questionnaire. And this scale has 2 dimensions: symbolic meaning of money and instrumental. Oh, sorry for that. And instrumental meaning of money. The instrumental dimension measures whether we can manage money or not, whether we are tight or loose with money. And symbolic dimension measure to what extent we see money as the biggest entity in our life. And in this symbolic dimension, we have positive aspects like the conviction that money gives power and status, but also we have negative aspects. So the persistent anxiety related to money. Why? Because if you believe that money gives power, then you might wonder whether you have enough money to have power, and you will never feel that you have enough. So that's why these aspects are connected, and that's why symbolic meaning of money might be considered as a good indicator of the desire for money. Okay, but we also knew that if we knew from the previous research that gratitude is related to materialism, and materialism is obviously related to symbolic meaning of money or the desire of money, we wanted to control for whether this potential association would stem from all these variables being connected to materialism, or whether there is a specific relationship between gratitude and symbolic money attitudes. Also, we controlled for personality traits, just because we know that gratitude is especially related to anxiety and neuroticism, and symbolic meaning of money is also related to gratitude and to anxiety and neuroticism. What we found, first of all, in both of our samples, gratitude was negatively related to the symbolic meaning of money, both in Poland and in India. And these two cultures, as you can imagine, are completely different in terms of, cultural background, our traditions, our behaviors, our beliefs, and still we found this negative association. More importantly, the way we manage money, the way we operate money in economic terms, was not related to gratitude, neither in Poland nor in India. And we also, when we controlled for the 5 factors of personality and for materialism, we found some associations in both countries, but even controlling for them, the relationship with gratitude remains significant. So it seems that gratitude is related to the desire of money, not only because of materialism, not only because of neuroticism, but there is a specific relationship between gratitude and the desire for money. In the second study, we continued with correlational evidence, but here we invited participants from UK, and we've changed the way we measured gratitude. Here we measured gratitude as a virtue, and we've also changed the way we measured desire for money. Here we use the money importance scale. We again controlled for materialism, and we also controlled for greed, because we know again that greed is related to low gratitude, and you don't need to be a psychologist to know that greed is related to the desire of money. What we found here, we found significant relationship, positive, between between gratitude and money importance, as we expected, and this association hold controlling for both materialism and greed. So again, we demonstrated that there is a specific relationship between gratitude and money importance, and it doesn't stem from materialism and from greed. Okay, but one may say that we just demonstrated that there is an association. An association doesn't mean causation. So maybe we just demonstrated that people high in believing that money is important are becoming less grateful. And that is why we needed intervention or exercises involving gratitude, because we use them as experimental manipulations. And in the third study, we manipulated gratitude in a way that we asked our participants, half of our participants, to provide us a list of 5 things that they are grateful for. And in the control condition, we asked our participants to provide a list of 5 things that happened last week. And then again, we ask our participants to fill in the money importance scale, but also we again measure the economic value of money, because maybe people who are high in gratitude just value money less, so they feel like there is inflation of money, and that's why they see money as less important. We showed that this is not the case. In both conditions, the economic meaning of money was relatively high, and we didn't find any significant differences, while people in gratitude condition declared lower money importance than in control condition. Okay, but the problem is that until now, we only use questionnaires and we only use abstract thinking. But psychology and psychology, economic psychology, behavioral economics is not about declaration. It's about behaviors. So we wanted to see if people really behave as if they desire money less when they have a higher level of highlighted level of gratitude. So in our fourth study, we divided our participants into three conditions. First, we have control condition in which we asked our participant to write about their positive experience. Second, we have social gratitude condition. So we asked them to describe a situation, a recent situation when they were grateful for something specific and towards a specific person. And in the third condition, that we called abstract gratitude, we ask our participants to think and describe the situation in which they were grateful for nature, grateful for God or for weather, anything they wanted, but not a human being. Here in this study, we also measured our potential psychological mechanisms, so social closeness and self-transcendence. But what I'm really the most proud of and the most sad of, you will see why, is the DV that we used here. We conducted this study on Prolific, and Prolific is the platform where you can pay people money for participating in your research, but you can bonus them on top of the regular payment. So you can ask them to do some additional stuff and pay them depending on the decisions they make, or depending on the depending on the decisions they make. And the reverse dictator game that we used here is a very mean one, actually. So we told our participants that our university conducting this research is functioning under the condition that some of the funding, some of the research money has to go to the charity. So we planned that some of this money devoted for this specific study would go to UNICEF. And we explained what is UNICEF, because probably we all know, but just in case people might not know what is UNICEF. And then we told our participants that for every participant, the university has planned to donate £50 to UNICEF. However, if they think that the payment they receive in this specific study is too low, and if they think they should get higher payment, they can take some money from UNICEF, and we will give this money as a bonus to them. So basically, what we were asking our participants is to steal money from UNICEF if they think they deserve it. Okay, I cannot think of a better behavioral indicator of the desire for money. When we ran this study, Maciek, so my colleague, said that this is not possible. People will not do that. You will not see any theft in the control condition. So you cannot decrease this theft in the gratitude condition, because people will not take money from UNICEF. Prolificers do. So we basically found a significant association between our two manipulations and money taken. on average, in the control condition, as far as I remember, they have taken half of the endowment, half of the units of money, and in the gratitude conditions, they didn't differ between each other, and they taken maybe 10, 12 pence, something like that. So half of the amount in the control condition, and we didn't find any differences between the two types of gratitude. For both of them, participants demonstrated lower desire for money. When we tested our mediators, so the psychological mechanisms, we found, as we expected, that social gratitude triggers social closeness and it decreases the desire for money. That abstract gratitude triggers self-transcendence and it decreases the desire for money. But we also found that social gratitude triggers self-transcendence. So it's not only that social gratitude triggers your feeling of being closer to other people, to those people you are grateful for, but social gratitude makes you feel you are a tiny part of the whole universe and the meaningful part of the whole universe at the same time. Okay, in the last study, we wanted to test boundary conditions. We wanted to see whether all people are would be vulnerable to this gratitude intervention to the same extent. Maybe, for example, people who have higher income, who are richer, would be less prone to react to gratitude intervention because, probably they demonstrated high desire for money in the past, if now they have high income. Also, we wanted to control for subjective association of our subjective evaluation of our socioeconomic status or subjective wealth, because maybe this is not objective wealth, but subjective wealth that matters. And finally, and I saw it as most promising, was the moderation by money attitudes. When I investigated the effects of money priming, in many research where I included money attitudes, I found the effect that money are meaning psychological, emotional things it sounds like tautology, but it makes deep sense that money operates on psychological level only for people who believe that money operates on psychological level. So if you have low level of symbolic meaning of money, if you don't ascribe money with power, with emotions, you will not react to money priming at all. But people with high level of symbolic meaning of money react to money priming and demonstrate money effects to a highest extent. Also, what we know from the first study is that people in this series is that people with symbolic money attitudes have high desire for money. So there is a huge space for decreasing this desire for money. So here in this study, we first measured this in the individual traits, so money attitudes, income, and subjective socioeconomic status. Then we left our participants for 2 weeks. We came back 2 weeks later because we didn't want them to associate the trait measurement part with the experiments. And in the second part, we asked our participants either to write a gratitude letter to somebody, to a specific person, or to describe what they often do each Tuesday. Then we told them that we are planning new study on prolific, and this study would probably take around 5 minutes. That would be demanding, so that would demand a lot of attention, but at the same time it will be boring. And we are wondering how much we should pay participants on prolific to participate in this kind of study. We also told them that the typical payment for a 5-minute study is from £0.5 to £1.5, and ask them how much at minimum we should pay them to participate in this specific study. And we basically assumed that people who would have higher desire for money would expect higher payment for this boring but demanding study. What we found, first of all, gratitude. People from gratitude condition declared that they would participate in a study for smaller bonus than people from control condition. So again, we found significant effect of gratitude intervention. And concerning our 4 potential moderators, the only significant moderation was by symbolic meaning of money. So income didn't matter. Of course, we found the main effect of income. So the richer were people, the lower was the expected study bonus. We didn't find any effects of socioeconomic status. We didn't find any effect of instrumental meaning of money. But just finding an interaction is not a result. We know that something is going on, but we need to decompose this interaction. So we need to see what's inside these results. So when we looked into the results, we found that people, so as you see, the blue line is for the control condition and the yellow line is for the gratitude condition. For people low in symbolic meaning of money, we didn't find any differences between these 2 conditions. So people with low symbolic meaning of money, they declared that they don't need high payments for the boring demanding study. No matter whether they were in control or in gratitude condition. But when people were high in symbolic meaning of money, they expected much higher payment in the control condition than after gratitude intervention. So we especially showed that the gratitude intervention affects or have effects on people who are initially high in symbolic meaning of money. Why? Probably because symbolic meaning of money is triggered by different psychological deficits. Symbolic meaning of money is associated with high level of neuroticism, low self-esteem, high level of anxiety, the feeling that we don't have control over our lives. And probably activating gratitude here or exercising gratitude here is something that doesn't address the symbolic meaning of money itself, but it addresses all the diverse maladaptive psychological backgrounds that these people experience. So it functions as a kind of plaster for our broken leg, so we don't need any additional help if our leg would become to heal. Of course, we might derive even more questions from this series of studies than answers. We know that gratitude works. We know that there are 2 potential mechanisms that make gratitude works, but we may ask, how specific is the effect of gratitude on the desire of money? I told you that similar effects can be observed for awe and can be observed for nostalgia. And in the meta-analysis concerning gratitude, we can see that gratitude to the world, gratitude to your past, and gratitude to other people can be basically understood as the umbrella term for all the emotions that are listed here. So to some extent, awe plus nostalgia creates the feeling of gratitude. Of course, we don't claim that these mechanisms, these two mechanisms, so social connectedness and self-transcendence, are the only mechanism for the effect of gratitude on the desire for money. For example, we also think that maybe the feeling of gratitude, experiencing gratitude, makes people focus on the positive sides of their lives. Makes people focus more on the resources that they have, opportunities they have, help they have from other people. And if we focus on all these positive aspects, it might create the feeling of abundance. And if we have this feeling of abundance, we just feel like we don't need more because we have enough. It might be also that because this is not something that we know from other studies, people who practice gratitude, who do the daily gratitude exercises, who write gratitude diaries, experiences greater happiness, greater well-being, greater satisfaction in their lives, while high levels of well-being and high levels of satisfaction might just break the vicious cycle of the hedonistic treadmill. So the hedonistic treadmill is the feeling that you want to get positive consequences because you're doing something, because you are buying something interesting, because you are obtaining some new possessions. But then you spend money to buy a new car, and you realize that you feel nice for a while, but it doesn't make you more happy, And then actually it makes you more miserable because you spent money and you don't have this money anymore. So instead of being more happy, you feel less happy. So then you want to search for another solution for buying even newer car, etc., etc. But if we really experience happiness triggered by gratitude, maybe it breaks this vicious circle, because if you feel satisfied, if you feel satiated by what you have, then you don't need to look for new solutions. And also, we know from other research that people who are high in gratitude tend to compare with others to a lesser extent than people are low in gratitude. And when we do comparisons, unfortunately, we do comparisons to people who are lower than us rather rarely. We tend to do upward comparisons much more often. So we compare ourselves, people who are wiser than us, more professors than us, richer than us, especially richer than us. So it creates the feeling of inferiority, it creates the feeling of envy, which is undoubtedly related to wanting more, to just fill in this empty hole in our hearts and lives. So maybe this is another mechanism for gratitude, decreasing the desire for money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agata. Thank you very, very much for this very interesting introduction to your research.